and let's get started because I guess we're at the top of the hour. We got a long program, so for us to cover this in this short amount of time, it's what we want here. So yes, my name is Daniel Greversen. I have worked as an integration architect developer for a long period of time, and obviously from time to time you find some ways you want to work with, and sometimes it becomes easier or more difficult to get some things done. And with the Git, so obviously when developing tools, we have tried to find out different ways to work on developing applications, etc. And yeah, Git is obviously the way to go there, and everywhere we go, even ABAP, you are working with Git. But for CPI, it's not that much, and I think this is one of the things I wanna go through here and cover, because I think it has a lot of merit and value to work with these different things. So the agenda is why working with Git UI flows in a Git repository, cover our open source Gradle plugins that we'll be using, how you can debug and test Groovy scripts, validation of iFlows, and then getting started with setting up your Git repository, etc. And then hopefully we have time for some Q&A. So yes, let's see. If you have questions along the way, just put them into the Q&A, then we'll try to cover those towards the end. Otherwise, put in some comments along the way. That is what this is all about. Questions. If we don't get through it now, we also have some time afterwards. So we'll try to cover the different questions that you put in. So thanks for joining. So what I wanted to achieve with this session was to see what the benefit, to enable you to see what the benefit of working with a Git repository would be, and see it's actually possible and not that difficult, and hopefully get you to implement it in your organizations. Are you using a Git repository now? And this was the poll that started it all, and I said, okay, it's actually a pretty interesting topic, and we have a lot of you already here. So just what's the percentage of you that are using this is kind of interesting. And yeah, you should have a poll option. But I think this is probably around the 20% that is using versus the 30% that is not using Git. And obviously, hopefully we can get this percentage to increase a little when you can see the benefits of working with this. So is the poll closed? Or so I guess we are at the same percent, 14% that is using it. So that's good. So why do you want to have a Git repository? And I guess this is the main question about coming back to the overall theme about who is actually going through these kind of things. And I think this is about making it easier to manage your integration, understand who have made what, make it easy to search for things that have made in other projects and parts, XSLTs, Groovy scripts, etc. It's about making it easier for you to develop these things, because if you have worked with any kind of modifications or more complex scenario in a Groovy script XSLT, you probably found that there's some limits on what you can actually achieve in this process. And this is what we want to try to figure out a way how to do. You can debug it, and that means that everybody else that is using the tool will be able to debug the scenario in the same way and run it and get the same response as you got. You can create unit tests and save them in it, so everybody will be able to run and process these as we go along. It's one place where you have all the artifacts. And this weekend, someone was reaching out to me, how do I restore an iFlow? And it's like, Yeah, there's a different ways to do this, but obviously it's a little of a challenge, and that is why you want to have a good backup, and as Groovy or a Git repository is a really good way for that. So yeah, and obviously we have the script collection where I think you will be doing most of your Groovy development. That should also be a part of this and be able to handle it. So yeah, if you have questions along the way, just put them into the Q&A session, then we'll cover them later. But obviously, it's not all easy. There's a lot of challenges with this. So I think probably one of the biggest one is this kind of what's the skill level of integration developers. Yeah, so obviously I'm not saying all integration developers are not that well developers or good developers, but obviously myself included, I do find sometimes it a bit challenging to be able to work with these modern platforms and how do we create, pull, merge request, all these things. There's a lot of things that you need to understand and learn before you can actually do these things. And this is not something you or most developers would be able to do, and you want to find a way that enable all of your developers to be able to work with and understand what's going on. With a CPI world, you have this thing about duplicity, about where is the code and who owns the code. Is it the web ID where you have all your repository, or is it the Git repository? Because you cannot run things locally. So obviously you can run some Groovy script XSLT locally, but most would need to be run in a CPI environment, and the only place to do that is in a CPI. Yes, commit push and then leave the building. Yeah, no one really knows what's going on, but just hope everything works. I think that's the challenge, and then restore and delete. That's how I've done, or just pulled from scratch. Then you obviously would have some kind of challenge with merging BPMN models. That's not really an option to do that. There's some consistency. Have you updated? Are you working on the last sprints, etc.? And then you have a manual process about uploading content, etc. And if we get into the DevOps challenges, there's obviously some problems there with also these same complex scenarios about who owns what, etc. We'll not cover those today because we have a better solution for that. And this is the Figaf tool that we think will enable you to do these things better. If you have questions, put them into chat and we'll cover them just in a short while. But the Figaf tool is a place that allows you to handle all of these different tasks regarding a development process. So this is about managing the transport, handling, testing. So it has a full testing tool built into to create tests, etc. of iFlows. You can, when you're proving, you have a lot of visibility and about proving what are the changes, including configuration, etc. Yes, we'll get to the Groovy script soon. We have APIs to transport, configuration of iFlows, and then documentation once everything is done. And here, just an example of how you, as a user, would be able to compare these things is the interesting thing. Okay, so let's get to the Git repository. In this, we'll talk about how you can set this thing up and what is actually possible in this scenario. Let's see. Oops. Move it. Okay. So the way we are working in Git is a little, we kind of use it as an advanced distributed file system. the way the normal development process does that, you will create your iFlow in the CPI system. It will then be synchronized into the Figaf tool, and here we will have all the versions and check out which iFlow has been changed. If an iFlow has been changed or created, it will be pushed into the Git repository, and then the user in his IDE would be able to pull all of these different changes, start working on some of the different aspects and artifacts that is going on here. And once you've done that, he'll be able to up or download artifacts from the IDE. And I think this really simplifies the process, because you don't need to leave the IDE to upload or deploy an artifact, because that can all happen with these plugins that we have created. Yeah, and you talk about the review and review and merge process, and obviously merge we should not get into in the CPI world, but review is also a good way to do that in the transport tool, part of the Figaf tool. But this is kind of the process. That means that the developers, the only thing that they will commit is kind of changes to unit test. If they add specific extra things that is not a part of it, then they can make commits. But in general, they should just pull all the changes and then let the Figaf tool handle updates of all artifacts iFlow as you go along. And then if you are working intensively on an iFlow, you can use the built-in up or download in a way to simplify the development process. So once you have created the Git repository, it comes with all these artifacts and templates. That means that as a user, it becomes a lot easier for you to set these things up. So it comes with all the artifacts, all the ICOs, iFlows, script collecting mappings, value mapping packages, and then it has templates to set up these different plugins we have. Both the artifact deployment, etc., and we also have stops for using Groovy scripts in public classes, so you can actually run unit tests, when we'll show you that also. And we can test for debugging, and we have also automatic synchronization with changes. So every time an iFlow is updated, we'll see it here. We have these open source Gradle plugins, and you can find it at GitHub Figaf. And here you would be able to, so these are open source, so if you do not want to use our tool, you can use it the same way to interact with your different artifacts. And this is pretty simple way to set these things up. You have packages, you have iFlows, value mappings, all of these different artifacts. We can engage with them. You can make your custom scripts. So instead of the normal operations, you can create a script that upload, deploy, and then start running the test with the Figaf tool. And you can also build this into pipelines. So take these artifacts, build them into pipelines in a way that makes sense for you. We have made an example of Azure where we were using this and it worked. But yeah, we still think that the Figaf tool makes it a lot easier to manage the migrations. So recently we added support for script collection, and obviously I'm really happy that it fell just into the same time as SAP released the global accessible script collection that's accessible for all packages. That means that if you create a script collection, it can be used for from all packages, and that really simplifies a lot of things also. And also I will include all your jars, etc., into these ones. Yeah, and obviously I guess there's a move into creating global scripts that you'll be using multiple iFlows in these ones. We also have a way to understand where a script has been used. Okay, so let's show what this looks like. So let's see here. Here we have. Let me just see if there's any questions I just need to cover here. So is Figaf tool integrated with Cloud Integration? Yes. So maybe we should start there. So here we have the Figaf tool. It's a standalone Java application. What you can do is you can deploy it in BTP, or you can deploy it on your local PC for scenarios or in your own hyperscaler. What you then do is you go in and you connect it to a CPI system. We support both Neo and Cloud Foundry. And once you have done that, you can set up which Git scenario to integrate with, which branch it should push data into. And then once you're making any changes, it would all be pushed into that specific branch that you're selecting. So you can press here, synchronize, that will synchronize the full iFlow and push it into this repository. So yeah, we are connecting with all the artifacts, and this makes it simple to access. How do you ensure it's not accessible for black hat hackers? So our general approach is to make private repositories. When you are configuring this, you would set up a private key, and that one is obviously a private one that you should not have. Everybody should not have access to. And we have tested with Azure, Bitbucket, GitHub, so it should support all of them. Hopefully we'll get into an Open SAP course once they're working on some new ones. So let's see here. Okay, so here's the tool. If we make any modifications, we have a tool here, process that would allow us to check an iFlow, and then we can synchronize it from here. And once we do that, we can see our Git repository here. And I just need to terminate the processing of these things. And then if I look at my Git process here, I can see that I made a change recently where I added some test data, test cases. Then they will be pushed down here for all users to see. We should probably we'll make a new one. So one of the things that also comes with this this common, where we've added some of our codes that makes it easier for you to run these scenarios. So some methods implementation, so you do not need to go to CPI and fetch these the camel runtime, etc. So all of this is just included here, and that makes it a lot easier to work with. Obviously, it's not 100% correct, but anyway, running it outside of a CPI environment is not 100% correct anyway. We also come with, you need to add the scripting libraries. Hopefully, we will be able to add them from the Maven repository soon. And then it comes with some all the templates that you need here. So it comes with a template for running this. And it comes with username, password, or a template that it's used for connection. So you just need to copy this, add username, password to it. And then it has also a list of all the different iFlows. Once you've done that, it will populate these artifacts. And what you can then do is you can select, so this is a script collection. So if we find the script collection up here in the all SAP objects, script collection, new script collection, here we have the sources. And we have libs, so we can create a third one. So let's just do that. So will not add it to the Git repository. That's a mistake. So what we can do is if we update this, upload it, it will take all of these artifacts and upload it into our script collection. So if we go back to find this new script, in the Figaf tool, we can see this script object. We can see which iFlow it is being used in. And if we open the script collection, we should hopefully be able to see that the script collection now has a third iFlow into it. And if we edit this and save it as a new version, 09, and go back to the Figaf tool, we can synchronize this package. So we'll just want to synchronize a package. No, you can also schedule it to synchronize everything. But that takes a lot longer for us to process. Yes. So no matter what type of object is, it's kind of the same thing that you would be able to do. If it's a script collection or an iFlow, it will behave the same way. And we can then, it takes a little while. So now it's finished. And that means if we go back to the Git repository, and I guess we need to rebase on this top one. We can see that we have added a new Git process with 3 files in. And we can see here we're getting this third Groovy script. We are getting a manifest here. It pops up on the different screen. So here we can see the difference in the manifest, etc. Okay. So one of the other cool things is that if you have so yeah, working here is a lot easier. Working on a Groovy script, you have syntax highlighting, auto-completion, all these things that you would expect in an IDE to simplify the way you're delivering integration. What we can then do is, let's go back here to the presentation. For some scenarios, if we have created a test case, we would actually be able to create automatic unit tests that we can run on our CPI system. So that means that you, as a user, do not need to do much with it. So for now, let's go here. We can go to our CPI system. So we have created some test cases on this. So we have a test case here. And so the way we do it is we record using the trace mode. We can generate here. And with this, we'll take all the places where we're using Groovy scripts, and we will then create and add this into our Git repository. That means that we can actually run this iFlow the same way, or the part of the Groovy script the same way as we have for this. So let me go here, and then let's try to rebase on the new branch. Now we should have a new test case that has been added. We have added some test cases here. We can see that. And if we then go to this iFlow 2 here, we can see all of these are new. We can set a breakpoint here. That's good. We have a test case here. It comes with a lot of pre-delivered scripts that we need. And then we can simply just run here in debug mode. And this will then enable us to run this Groovy script using debug mode. And if we are in debug mode, yeah, it takes a little while. It becomes a lot easier for us to understand what's going on and which items, etc., we can change. So here we can see the data. we could look at message objects, payloads, etc. All these properties, make modifications to it, etc. And that is something that simplifies these things. And we can also just use that as a unit test and get information about whether or not this worked successfully or not. So I think it has a couple of iterations. So we can see here so there were some things that did not. Well, there's some links that were not updated. If there were any problems with these unit tests, we will then be able to see, okay, there is a problem running this here. Okay. Good. So that was there. So that I hope you can see some of the benefits of using the Git repository. It's really easy to maintain. It is designed for simplicity, for handling these different scenarios. And then, yeah, you get the option to do test cases with this plugin. We also added a scenario where we could add CPI lint. Where that each time we were doing an update, and the iFlow was pushed, the iFlow would then trigger a GitHub action that would then trigger CPI lint, and that meant we can continuously get information about if our iFlows is running correctly or if there's any ways we need to improve on this. And yeah, you can also do it in all other platforms if you want to do that. We have much more than just Git. So the Figaf tool can help you in a lot of other ways. You have version, comparison, transport, documentation, testing, monitoring and alerting, and of course the GitHub Git repository that will continuously enable you to update and validate your scripts. So I hope you want to sign up and try it out. We have a free 30-day trial. It's pretty easy to get started. Probably it will take you like an hour to set up and see what is possible. And if you sent a screenshot of this of your Git repository this week, I will give you a license to be able to use the Git functionality for 3 months, and then you'll be able to see how that works into your workflow. So I created a short guide here, and that should hopefully be in the handouts section. That somehow maybe pops up. Hopefully you can see that. Now it's up. This goes through the different steps, give you information about how to connect it to the CPI system, how to install it on some of these different platforms, and how to connect. And then I've created a video that shows you the different steps for the points 4 to 11 about how you can work with these plugins, creating these different scenarios. We can also book a call with me if you have more questions about these things and want to see, okay, the Git is good, but we also want to figure out how we can use these different part of the tools. Then go to figaf.com/book and book a session with me to have, and let's talk about how you can implement the tool in your system, getting a better development practice, because I guess it's one thing about just creating the Git repository. It's also a thing about making sure you have full end-to-end processes to handle your development process. And now I think we have time for Q&A. And I think we have some questions here. How do I get rid of this one? Okay, yeah, we're not going through much into the Groovy script here. I think there's a lot of resources on creating and working with Groovy scripts, but I think moving the data into a Git repository makes it a lot easier, because debugging and try it out in CPI is not really for everybody. So let's see here, which questions do I need to answer? The license costs. So this is a part of the Figaf license, and we started for this. We started 600 euros a month, but I guess most cases you end up with, and it's based on the number of iFlows that you'll be using the tool for, and that is one of the key capability of it. So yeah, in most cases it is 1,000 euros, 10,000 euros a year that the license costs us. We also got a question here about bulk transport. Yes, you can do bulk transport, so you can create a ticket in the Figaf tool that will allow you to transport multiple iFlows, create configuration of these, and then they would be applied, and then you can import all of these one after another. In our 2207 release, we will also have an option that would allow you to select multiple transport and import that. So that means you'll be able to cover all of these different scenarios in one go. So yeah, that's definitely one of the limitations with a Git. How do we actually deal with these things? But I think with this process, and if you want to see more on it, book a session, we can cover it there. Otherwise, if we have more time, I can show it you also. There was another one here. Yes, you can also use Figaf or the skip process if you do not use Figaf. So if you go to the to these plugins, there is a guide on these plugins. I'll just put that into the chat. Also, that's a new QA at the chat. Then you can see, so here there's what are the project structure and how to deal with this. This is the different files that you need to create, your landscape artifacts, and it has some different variables for what you need to insert. So there's the settings Gradle, there's this file, and so all this can be done without using the Figaf tool, but to simplify processing, the Figaf tool makes it a lot easier to get the full process working. Answered. Published. So we'll see. Are there anyone else answer? Can we import other Groovy script into one and make it reusable? Yes. So with the script collection that I worked with here, now we have added this third script in here. And yeah, sometimes you get some wrong notification, not sure what is going on here with this this setup. But once you have it like this in the CPI system, all artifacts here, you will then be able to link it, and then, so let's see here, this one is, so here in the iFlow right now, you have an option to have resources. There's the new script here that's being used, and what I can then do is I can go in and I can then use this third script that we created in it, and now it will be able to use that in the processing. I hope that answered that one. We don't have any jobs for CPI developers, but there's definitely a lot of options there. Another one is, what's the difference between CPI helper and Figaf if we compare debug mode? That's really a good thing. So if you keep updated, we will update. We will integrate with CPI Helper also in the coming weeks. So in CPI Helper, you have a plugin here. We will have Figaf plugin that will enable you to optimize these things easier. Yeah, so there's a lot of options or differences between it. But in the debug mode here in CPI Helper, you'd be able to see the run of this. In the Figaf, if you have created this unit test, you'd be able to unit test specific Groovy script and see what the data is at specific payloads. If you look at the testing option, we have an option to create a test case as we have here, and we can then run this on an iFlow, where it will set it in debug. We have options to run in different scenarios. So we can, let's see if it's test configuration here. We do not use mocking. We have options to mock endpoint, etc. also. So if we view the result here, we will then be able to see if these messages that we have processed here is compared successfully and not. So this is more a testing functionality than everything else. So there's a lot of differences, and hopefully the integration with CPI Helper will make it a lot easier for you to work with these two things. Figaf, yeah, it's aimed at company. I guess also the companies using CPI. You can have it. So Figaf comes and it comes with a built-in database. So it's just a Java application that you can run on your system, and with that you are able to trigger processing a lot easier. So if you go through the trial here, it shows you how you can install it on your local PC, and it is really simple to start it in that way. Oh, did it go to answered or? But yeah, if you want it in a so the on-premise installation or on PC installation is good if you're just one developer. If you're multiple developer working with multiple CPI systems, you need to have Figaf installed on either on BTP or on some shared server that all developers would be able to access. Are there anyone else I need to ask? This session should be recorded. Hopefully we should be able to share it afterwards. Thanks, Victor. Glad you liked it. Anyone else answer new questions? Yeah, so we didn't make it. I guess we made the core presentation on time, but this, I guess, is a new time to ask the different questions that you may have on this. Or put it into the chat, or what's going on with these things. But yeah, I hope you, and obviously you have all of these different Git processes, and it's a bit of a challenge to get them all to work. And I think this makes it a lot easier for users to use the Git in your scenario. And obviously one thing I would love to do was to be able to use Business Application Studio, but for now I have not found out how to run Gradle scripts in it, because then it would be a lot easier also, so you had everything in the cloud. But for now I haven't found a good way to do that. So for now, IntelliJ, Eclipse, maybe Node.js would also, no, not Node.js, VS Code would be a way to go to deal with these things. Are there other questions? Something I have not answered? Answered yes, then I'll try to cover these things. Cool. Glad you liked the session. I hope you want to sign up for a trial of the tool. I think this is one of the things that would make it a lot easier for you to develop. And if you have other questions, something I did not cover, then just go sign up for a meeting. Let's talk about how this could apply to your scenario, because there's a whole host of other things that, as we talked about here, that this is about. It is not just setting up a Git repository. It's also about how do we actually implement it in a good way that everybody on the team can deploy. And cool. Other questions? Let's see here. But yeah, it's quite funny that we had the same kind of responses as in the public poll on this. So this is good. No more questions. Who was it that asked? Do you want to see the transport with Figaf? Is that something you want to see? Oh, just put it into the chat. Then I can show you what that would look like. Or there's anything else that you want to see, then let me know. Then we can cover those things. But yeah, thanks for joining. Thanks for attending the session. Thanks for spreading the word. I really hope you have enjoyed this, and I hope to see you see you trying out the tool, see you go through the different videos, etc. we have on this. And I guess download. And you have the different scenarios for setting up this either on your chat or PC, etc. Thanks. Great. Glad you liked it. Yes. Yeah. Hopefully it should be this week. We have created everything. So CPI helper, the new release with the plugin makes it a lot easier. So I hope I'm glad you like that. Thanks, Krishna. Glad you liked it. Glad you liked it, Sandra. Yeah, any other questions? Otherwise, ping me. You have my email, and we can set up a short call if there's any questions or comments that we need to cover in this. But yeah, for these two things, we have guides. Here we have got, and here's a video covering all of this setups. But I hope you want to take me up on setting this up, see how it goes, and then you will be able to get access to use the Git for 3 months and have a better process in place. So thanks for watching, thanks for joining, and see you soon.